With me, as you may have seen already, is Patrick CREHAN again. Good morning, Patrick. For those who joined only after the break, Patrick is the innovation lead at Innoveas and has been exploring a different perspective on this entire discussion. And Patrick, you have some thoughts to share on a manifesto, right?
Yeah. So just coming back to the whole idea of this web event, the idea that we need to go beyond business as usual if Europe is to achieve its goal of net zero in 2050. And when we refer to business as usual, we're talking about the practice based on the European Energy Efficiency Directive, where large companies are required to carry out an audit at least every 4 years. And there was thinking within the project that, to bring SMEs on board, this approach could be extended to SMEs in some way. Well, it turns out that this practice is not well adapted to the needs of SMEs. The amount of energy, the amount they spend on energy directly tends to be very, very small. And it doesn't provide a lot of motivation. But thankfully, we've seen that there are many other benefits to be had from a range of measures, not so much based on energy, but more based on the logic of carbon, and perhaps also on other logics, such as a logic of preserving biodiversity. So this is the first thing that we saw. And our conclusion, the conclusion of many of the institutions who are involved in this debate, the International Energy Agency, the European Clusters Association, EREC, the European Resource Efficiency Knowledge Hub, and other actors, their conclusion is that we need to change systemically and at scale and do much more than we've done before, and to do it quicker if we are to reach this goal of net zero in 2050. And this is why I introduced the term massive change. It's a term I came across from reading Bruce Mau, who is a Canadian designer and architect. And the idea of massive change is that it is change that is both systemic and on a huge and unprecedented scale. And this is precisely the type of change that is required in dealing with SMEs. Now, when we talk about SMEs, there's a tendency to treat it as a homogeneous group. But the reality is that SMEs are as varied as humanity itself. And one of the things that we'll need to do moving forward is to understand that the population of SMEs in Europe, they break down into different kinds, not by sector, but really in terms of attitude towards the future and their ability to adopt new ways of working. Now, I've put up on the screen this bell curve, which some of you may already be familiar with. It's often called the technology adoption curve. It's called the corn curve. It's used in marketing also to model the adoption of new products. And it's also used in the study of SMEs and startups in the way that they're able to move from a few early customers and develop product and services for an increasingly important market. It goes back about 100 years, and its origin is in observing the behavior of farmers planting corn and their ability to adopt new varieties of corn. And what sociologists observed at the time is that you'll have a very small population of farmers that are quick to try out something new. And then you have other identifiable groups that follow on. And in the case of the planting of corn, it was roughly an 8-year cycle where you would start from the crazy guys that would try almost anything, to what we call the laggards. These are the guys who are the last to adopt something that has shown obvious benefits. Now, the point of the most recent reinvention or rediscovery of this idea was probably by Geoffrey Moore in Silicon Valley. And he wrote a book about 10 or maybe 15 years ago called Crossing the Chasm. And this is the gap. You see, you have two segments, two green segments in the beginning, and then you have a break. And this is the chasm that he's talking about. And he's referring to the phenomenon that was well known to venture capitalists and people operating with startups in Silicon Valley, that a startup often has a few early customers, people willing to, or organizations willing to try out their product and service. And then after the first few, once it's demonstrated, they might get a few more, etc. But these early adopters are really just a trickle. And then you reach a barrier. And the whole point about this, that what Geoffrey Moore wanted to explain, is that your first customers, the early adopters, are really quite special in many ways. And then the ones that make up your typical consumer after that, or your typical buyer of the product, do so for very different reasons from the first ones. And so the point about it is that you can segment the population in this way, and depending on these segments, the way that you approach them, the reasons why they adopt are quite different. And in growing your business, or in growing the adoption of whether it's a new product or a new concept, you need to be aware of which segment you're in, and you need to adapt your language accordingly, because the arguments that you need to provide to provoke adoption are going to vary as you pass from one segment to another. So one of the things that I've done is just really to provoke discussion on this issue is I've segmented the population of SMEs in the same way as Geoffrey Moore and many others before him have done. The first ones are what you call the enthusiasts, or the innovators. They do stuff because it's new and they're willing to try anything to see if it works. And if we translate the population of SMEs in Europe, which is roughly 22.8 million small enterprises, this early adoption population corresponds to about 750,000 entities across Europe. And I would say that, many of the SMEs that approach organizations like CO2 Logic, which was represented by Mathieu Crébellier, many of those who spontaneously pick up the phone and approach CO2 Logic do so because they see an opportunity to innovate or to differentiate themselves from the competition. And then you'll have others that follow on. These are not the visionaries, but they're the more like the mainstream innovators. And they might do so for competitive reasons. They see that their competitors are doing this. They see that they're doing well by this, and they want to follow quickly so that they don't lose out in terms of market share. Now, don't be confused. The language of this adoption curve was initially constructed, or has been constructed, to refer to the adoption of products to be bought in the marketplace. And you can look at this either from a consumer's perspective or from a salesperson perspective. But exactly the same dynamic works for the adoption of new practices and new ideas. Marketing in modern parlance is just changing behaviors. It's the science of changing behavior. So the point about it is that I think we have seen this morning through the different sessions and the different speakers that there are very many reasons to adopt measures such as energy efficiency measures, to switch to renewables, to work in terms of carbon sequestration, etc. There are very many reasons to do this, and the populations of SMEs will break down into those that are motivated in different ways. Some by a need to innovate, some by the fear of competition, and others by the big stick of their client telling them that one day they could be deselected from the supply chain if they don't get in line and demonstrate their adhesion to the principle of going green, going net zero by 2050. So anyway, that's just to give you an idea of some of the things that we're going to continue to work on in the following month. And just to summarize where we are today, there's a series of 4 position papers that they're not up yet, but they'll go up on the site in the coming days. We have all of the elements of our current webinar. These will be recorded, they'll be available online, and we'll continue discussing along these ideas. But the next steps that we're going to do is we're going to organize a series of deep dives in the first half of next year. Probably 4 deep dives on the themes that we've put up on the screen. And there are a number of themes that we didn't give full credit to this morning, in particular project financing and governance issues, the kind of organizations that can help to develop energy projects. But we'll deal with this in much more detail next year, and the idea is to fully develop a manifesto for massive change. In other words, laying out the steps that need to be taken to bring all of these SMEs, etc., online. But to do that, it's clear that there's a need to change the behaviors, not just of the SMEs, but of the companies that are trying to serve them as auditors, as energy service companies, etc. And so one of the things that we're going to deal with in this project, and it's an output, an anticipated output of the project, is to develop an alliance that's going to be the engine for the change that we're talking about. And so that's the subject of the next session. Ilaria is going to talk about that. And Bruno is going to introduce her now.
It's clear that the problems and the challenges at hand are not that easy to solve, and that it's much better to work together than go and try to solve things alone. So an alliance is obviously a very valuable avenue to explore. And how this can be done is something that Ilaria CAIRO will give more insights on and give more details on. Good morning, Ilaria.
Good morning,
Ilaria
everyone.
is a management engineer in the innovations unit of Confindustria Bergamo, and obviously has a thorough understanding of how SMEs operate. Ilaria, I'm curious to hear more about the need for an alliance. The conference floor is entirely yours.
Thank you. May I share my slide? So
we are going to share them for you. Yes.
Thank you. So good morning. I'm Ilaria CAIRO. As you already mentioned, we from Confindustria Bergamo, we are one of the partners of the Innoveas project. As you maybe know, we are an association of manufacturing companies based in the province of Bergamo. And now we are going to talk about the need of a dedicated alliance, a European alliance, for helping the European SMEs towards green transition. So let me see if I'm going to present. Okay. I don't know how to. Okay, yes. So here there is a McKinsey study from 1960 to 20s. And during this year, many industrial and manufacturing companies improve their performance by adopting lean production methods to optimize material and labor productivity, but most of them didn't incorporate new tools for increasing energy efficiency. There are 3 main reasons to that. The cost of oil, that has been relatively inexpensive for years. And also starting from 2008, after the crisis, companies focused their effort on growth and increasing capacity. And third one, companies don't have tools to track and monitor their energy efficiency, even if Mr. Perani says that it is not so difficult. So, okay. Okay. So specifically in SMEs, several studies have found that they do not implement investment in energy efficiency, so they don't change their process. Why? The reason has been told also by Clemens this morning. First of all, because one of the important barriers to improve energy efficiency in SMEs is the ineffective knowledge and the lack of information and communication. Energy audits are the first step to implement energy efficiency measures. So they are often performed by professionals with an engineering background, which often does not reflect the background of those receiving the audit. So SMEs must actively be involved in the process of collecting information, and their employees must be able to connect the information to existing knowledge. Okay, so it has been observed that if SMEs are actively engaged in all stages and can discuss problem and result with auditors, their energy efficiency results are definitely better. So our training programs are extremely important to raise SMEs' awareness on energy efficiency, helping them in exchanging knowledge with others, give important tools to perform better measure, and develop an internal know-how that will be consolidated over time. So on the basis of what I said, emerged the need of a dedicated alliance for industrial training on energy efficiency, which will have the responsibility of ensuring the continuity of the action after the completion of our Innoveas project. This alliance will serve as a tool to ensure the sustainability of training modules developed and validated during our project. And the sustainability of the action and the training modules is also intended as the evaluation of the appropriate cost and time to be invested by a company. Here I reported some virtuous example of the alliance applied in various contests and projects. First of all, the project Canvas aimed to create an alliance for structure existing knowledge on the topic of cybersecurity, design a network for exchanging and generating insights, and disseminate the understandings gained. The second one is the TaxMed Alliance. We founded by a simple research on the website, and it aims to reduce the gap, the innovation gap that there is in the textile sector by developing a cross-border initiative promoted both by project partners and the SMEs. And this action will put the innovation at the core of the discussion. Third one is a screen project that aim at establish a expert network, a European expert network that covers the whole value chain for present and future critical raw material. This is network set up as a permanent forum. So, sorry. Okay, so our EU Alliance will involve, as Luisa already shown, the external stakeholders, which are, sorry, because I listen a voice under me, so, okay, industrial association, first of all, because they know very well SMEs and their needs, and they could be the key element in continuing our project path. So it is fundamental to involve them because they already have established contact with SMEs and they know best how to support them. Second are national energy, for example, for new technologies, energy and sustainable economic development, could be involved to work as facilitators and also to deliver training. Third one are policymakers, both at local and national level, that could be an intermediate reference between those who provide the training and those who finance the intervention suggested by the audit. Third one are the institutional actors from municipalities to European institutions that could validate our program and certificate it at a European level. Also, they could guarantee the uniformity of the program at the European level. Last one are the financial institutions, because, are the financial institutions that could work as facilitators for obtaining, for example, subsidized financing programs for the investment that are necessary. Of course, the beneficiaries of this alliance are the European SMEs. This alliance is going to be done in the last 6 months of our project, of the Innoveas project, but we are already working on it because we think that these are very important. What has been done so far on this topic is the initial set of the strategy to involve internal and external stakeholders with the definition of the first work proposal. Then the setting up of an internal working group internal to Innoveas project and the discussion among partners. But many steps are foreseen in the future month, and we hope you will follow our next step through our social and website or even such like this. Okay, so our alliance, on what we'll focus? The important is having a studied, testing, and validated method unique for all project countries, which aims to extend to our EU countries for a similar approach to the issues of energy efficiency in SMEs, but not only this one. Also, the importance of creating a network of experts that can work on this topic, offering training to SMEs on energy efficiency, and offering also the support for the implementation of this strategy of the energy audits, and offering also subsidized financing programs for the necessary investment. Last, the importance of ensure the continuity after the Innoveas project end. So this is all from my side. Thank you for your attention. Here you can find my contact details, and if you have any doubt or curiosity, please feel free to contact me.
Thank you, Ilaria.
Thank you.
For your remarks. It's clear that an alliance has a valuable place in the entire project, and some interesting things are still ahead. Before ending, I would like to invite Sergio Bottiglioni from IIPLE to our conference. Sergio is part of the project management team the project management team in the Innoveas consortium. I don't know, Sergio, if you
can you hear me?
Around? Yes, we can hear you and see you. Good morning, or noon
morning.
Already in Italy. It's already almost 1 p.m. Sergio, I'll leave it up to you to wrap up the conference. So the conference floor is yours.
Thank you, Bruno. Thank you to everybody. Good morning. Now I am in a building site in Milan where an SMEs is a construction company is renovating a huge building. And I think this is quite symbolic. Just a few words to conclude this long morning. We had a lot of inputs and suggestions. I think we need some time also next days for the briefing and let all the words we have heard to sound in our minds. I want, of course, to thank all the speakers for their contributions. Together we are telling a new story, and is how to act in the best way to help SMEs to come on board on climate change. And this is something we said very important. We have all I could say a clear sensation that the challenge we are called to is like a train which is passing now, and SMEs have the real occasion to jump in and to act as main actors of the energy transition. This is an extraordinary occasion they have. It's something that can't wait anymore. We need to move beyond building as usual, and everybody is committed to make his own effort. I think, first of all, we have to provide SMEs new glasses to watch in a correct way the transition. We talked a lot of comprehensive approaches, of a holistic point of views, and this is pretty important also to understand what are the benefits to be on board. And we well know, after also the work we have done in Novea, so what are the barriers, what are the things that helps, and so now I think we only have to act and to help the SMEs to change their business as usual. Of course, there's an important question of communication. We said we don't want to see any more huge reports full of numbers, but we have to help SMEs to understand what are direct non-financial benefits, which we said are much more important in order to meet also their client requirements. So there's a strong need for to help the SMEs. We said that we have to constitute, to help us better, we can consortium groups, let's say energy communities, in order to constitute this important alliance towards the same goal, acting together and to put together the different disciplines that can help such process. We said this question is not only technical, is non-technical, is communication, is economical, it has to do with personnel behaviors, so resources, and so on. So it's really a new approach we have to face, which is talking more about CO2 reduction than kilowatt hours, which are of course important, but are also a consequence and something that can be strongly related. Just to conclude, I don't want to take more time. I think when you start a renovation process, it's like when you go hiking in the mountains, you just need to start and to start working. And so you need to find the courage of the first step. And after the things go, and the journey will be pleasant with a lot of nice person you will meet along this journey. So thank you everybody for your effort. Everybody of us come at their usual business, and we continue to believe that this transition is possible and that we can really help the SMEs.
Sergio, for these closing words. We're at the very end of this morning. A lot of perspectives have been shared, a lot of ideas generated, maybe also some questions asked which made us think how we can better engage SMEs in the energy transition. But there's still plenty of work to be done, of course, but I think now it's time, depending on which time zone you're tuning in, to have lunch. Thank you for being with us. Also, thanks from all the Innoveas partners that you were with us this morning. I wish you a wonderful lunch and a wonderful rest of the day. Take care.